What's going on with everybody, man? Send my love to everybody that's tuning in. Yeah, I had a couple questions that I'm gonna answer real quick, just for content purposes that help out the channel. But I just seen gunnerz reaction now, so I'm gonna address it a little bit. I left a comment in his section telling him, hey, I send my love and respect. It's all good, and I don't take none of that personal. That's the one thing that I respect about him. That's pretty cool that he actually defended local man. And that's got to be some stand-up shit, because no matter what, if that's your homie, through right and wrong, he's over there on that platform defending that man. And obviously through my whole video that I dropped with local man, I didn't try to paint a picture of him being anything other than what people have described about him, and only what took place with me and him. I only illustrated the interactions that I had with them and the fight that I had with him. And even afterwards, I even mentioned, like, man, that dude kept it solid with me, and I respect that about him. And even though Snoop has this policy where, force bags, push bags, step bags don't come back. I mean, he don't believe in all that equal opportunity stuff, but I've seen a lot of individuals step back because our movement was undergoing a lot of weeding out processes and a lot of trials and tribulations that Snoop was doing to hurt the people. And we lost a lot of good homies. Trust me, I went out there just specifically to tell local man, like, bro, you're not going to threaten the homie's life. And we're basically fighting each other over an individual who left this yard on questionable standings. Like, why are we fighting each other over this? And all I wanted to tell local man was like, look, I understand that, you're perceived as a killer, you're ex-NF, but dude, that don't apply here no more. Your old ways have to be left to the side, and you got to adapt to new things, to this new ideology, which was built on anti-bullying. So it just kind of sucked that, he before that, I never heard, the compas never talked bad about this individual. It was only that he was going around the yard just throwing his weight around. And I understand that, like, if you're a killer and you're about that life and you're built in a certain way, I mean, of course you're going to exert that type of fear and force on people. But you were just doing it to the wrong people. And that's when I stepped into play, because I'm a firm believer of anti-bullying, what this movement is based on. So to me, like I said, I didn't want it to go there. Like, I don't take pride in beating up my own homies. Like, I hate the fact that 90% of my batteries were on my own people. Only because, I had to enforce these policies that Snoop would interpret as being law, only to be misinterpreted once you become well educated. And I'm like, man, it could have been done a lot more different ways. But what Snoop's idea to this movement was, meet everything with violence. While me, Rowdy, Johnny Boy, Cisco, a lot of us, we used to try to teach, like, man, we got to find other solutions than bloodshed. Like, there has to be another way that we got to stop killing our own people, bro, because we're not growing no more. We're reducing our numbers, especially when he dropped the N, and now that he's going against me, EBK, individuals that he was claiming to love and be certified, and just went against the grain. He has a propensity to do that kind of stuff. And he just turns his back on a lot of people just to reserve himself and reserve those that he favors the most. And that's why this movement is just in rambles right now. It's just going back and forth. And that's why I'm utilizing this platform to talk to the homies and, also tell my story, since you guys are very intrigued by it, which I'm thankful for. But I watched gunnerz Collective, the whole thing, and like I said, I didn't know nothing about this individual on the active side. I was busted for a lot of years on the main lines, and whether his name came up or not doesn't decharacterize this individual. I just was never told about him, and I rarely ran into homies from Merced. But when I do a story, in particular, I had a celly named Crow that was from Westside Merced. He was the only one, but it was after the fact. After I removed the local man, I wound up going to Kern Valley Sea Yard, and I ended up beating up a 2-5er over Scrappy, and I ended up in a cell with Crow. Crow was the one that started telling me about local man. When he asked me, like, what happened, and I told him, I go, bro, we were just trying to correct the errors in his ways. And just like gunnerz said, that fool don't tolerate no bullshit. So he stood up to all 5 of us. and was like, man, I'll fight all you fools. And when you take a negative stance towards the movement, it's grounds for removal right then and there, because all 5 of us plus the remaining members on the yard, we constitute a committee. So we had the actual decision to say, look, either you stop what you're doing and correct your mistakes and just conform to the committee, being that we don't want you oppressing people, especially a dude in a wheelchair, over methadone, or you can get beat up. It's plain and simple. You can leave. And he challenged us, so we had no other choice. He didn't go out like no punk, and we didn't go out not like no punks. And yeah, and I understand too, like, one man can't fight 5 dudes. And it sucks, but that's just the policies on the SNY. You'll rarely get a fair one on the SNY. You try to fight a 2-5 one-on-one, you're gonna get jumped by like 50 of them. IRs too. We just protect our brothers. And to be honest with you, like I said, I didn't mind bringing them back. It's just the simple fact that once he kept it solid and didn't snitch on me, I was open. I was open arms to that. Like, I had an open mind to say, you know what, come back. I ain't tripping. That's tight. You kept it real. But the simple fact that Snoop wasn't allowing nobody to come back, and the homies were pretty much said, hey, bro, he took a stance at us. It's different if he didn't want to respect the decision and we beat him up for it as a form of discipline, since Snoop started incorporating physical fucking disciplines now as a policy, which we thought was unfair and it was unjust. But we did it. We could easily beat him up and tell him, like, hey, bro, did you learn your lesson, or we got to keep going with this? But, he also got transferred. And there's other facts that I wasn't telling you guys about. Like, in the hole, around that time, it was the riders and the Zapatistas at war with the 2-5ers. Even though Local Man wasn't a rider anymore, in accordance to the policy that he took a negative stance towards us, like, he actually defended me. And I just didn't elaborate on those aspects because I didn't want to get into what was taking place around that time in the Triple C program, where they were housing all the STG groups instead of the regular ass seg with the GPs. Because when we're on the tier with regular GPs, a lot of fools are petty. We start cutting each other's lines and throwing piss and shit at each other, so they keep us segregated from general pop. We were at war. Well, like, we were sending cell chronos to different cells to cell up with each other, and we were going into cells and stabbing each other and beating each other up in handcuffs or not. And Local Man wrote me a comment. Was like, look, bro, I know I'm in bad standings right now, man, but I got you, man. What are we doing? And I specifically told him, I go, bro, this ain't your war, but I was the only rider back there at war with like 32 fivers that were trying to spear me, shoot darts at me, that were trying to sell up with me. We were going to medical together, headbutting each other, all that stuff. He was right there in the midst of it all. Like, man, I got you. And he was ready to do his thing. So I give that man credit, and I give credit to Gunnerz Collective for speaking up for him, because that was some highly respectable shit. I can't tell Local Man's story from the active side, so it was kind of cool and encouraging to hear that, man, we had a good member on the team, and we probably forfeited a good individual for the sake of some of these policies that we had to enforce. And we were just trying to stop a man from actually burying himself in his own hole. So with that being said, shout out to Gunnerz Collective, man. I respect that video, and that was pretty cool. I don't take nothing personal from it. All I was able to do was just talk about how I got into it with this man, and because everybody wanted to hear the story, I wasn't really too fond of the story, because like I said, once I go over a lot of my batteries with you guys and share everything that I went through, you're gonna start to see a pattern that I'm not too proud of, but it's a pattern that I'm just beating up my own homies most of the time for these policies that Snoop is put into place only because he's trying to gain more control over us. But sometimes I had to do it because it was a committee decision. It wasn't my own personal decision. That's why a lot of people are always wondering why I'm stepping up to Snoop, and now I'm speaking up against Snoop. No, that's the thing. I got another video that I'm gonna drop in a few weeks once I get the details in order, because you got to go over this in your head and memorize it. Because I don't like to fabricate none. I don't want to put extras on shit. Since 2016, a lot of us have been disregarding Snoop on a lot of aspects in which he won't elaborate on, but he won't care the knowledge either. Only because he's gonna portray himself to be like he's still in control when he's really not. But it has taken place for a long time. A lot of us were stepping away, saying, we're doing our own thing. And I came out here with a different intention. Like, man, now I'm out. I'm not in them. I'm not behind the walls no more. My mind's not isolated. So now I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna do something different. As I mentioned, I'm gonna create music for my boys, and we have something to call our own. And next thing you know, for the last 2 years, he's been regarding me as a playboy, and I don't know where this fabricated fucking information of false rumors that came out, which I know who are the individuals who came up with this rumor. Trust me, they've actually given me calls, and I like, whatever, bro. Like, it's all good, y'all. The thing about it is we're so used to turning on each other for this man that we fail to see that we're only killing each other over this man. But for some reason, you want to be held in high regard to this man instead of being held in high regard amongst all of us as a whole, which constitutes the fucking movement, not this man. So I ain't got a problem with it, because I can find my own battles, and I'm gonna go about this in a positive manner. Not the YouTube drama anymore like it first happened, because I was in my feelings, I got mad, but at the same time, like I said, like I told you guys, my career, it's my life, it's my livelihood. Now I got a bigger target on my back as opposed to the Northerners and Southerners that are not gonna like me, period. So I will continue to do that, and trust me, I got a lot more videos coming out for you guys. But the question that I was asked, but one more time, Gunnerz Collector, man, much respects, man. I gotta start watching their videos. I'm not into the YouTube world like that. I focus on a lot of other stuff. But the question was, what happens to an individual that on the PC yard, and I'll identify it as that because that's how he identified it as, where does he go? Does he go to solitary confinement, or does he go to the different yard if he falls from grace, like drops out from an SNY gang? So here's the thing. Say it's an individual that's used to be a cinquero, and he doesn't want to be part of it because they have devious ways. They're very fucking conniving and shady. They're gonna remove you bad. They're gonna jump you like 30 deep on one person. They don't care. And then you're going to get transferred to another facility once the administration knows that you're a primary target to this group. But with the cinqueros, you're on site permanently. There's no getting out of that. And the cinqueros are deep. They're on a lot of yards that you're going to want to be getting transferred to. So you're going to have it bad. You just got to hope and pray that you land on a yard where they're not there, that they don't exist there, so that you can live comfortably. You don't have to necessarily go to solitary confinement, because administrations that those beds are held for individuals that need to be there, like us that do a lot of batteries, people that stab each other on the yard. So they're gonna kick you out, and they'll cell extract you and put you on that yard. There's no hiding. You just gotta find a comfortable home. Same thing for the Zapatistas. You walk away from that gang, they're gonna stab you, and they're gonna stab you everywhere you go. There's no running from that. So it's the same thing. You got to find some place where they're not there. And for them, it's a little bit more easier because they're not on a lot of yards. Riders, we're on a lot of yards. But the thing is, like I said, if you step back, you can even be on the yard with us. And we're still going to befriend you. Because if you committed some sacrifices for us, and you just chose to, like, personal reasons, like you want to go home to your kids, you want to work things out with your girlfriend and your family, or you just ain't ready, you just don't want to make them any more sacrifices and risk not going home, we're going to respect that. So yeah, there's some individuals who will outcast you a little bit, but I don't respect those individuals in my movement that do this. Like, bro, you used to call that brother last week, all of a sudden he wants to walk away for personal reasons, and now you want to disregard this fool like he's just trash, like he wasn't a brother, like he didn't knock this dude out. I hate that shit. I can't stand that shit. But Snoop made it like that. Snoop is that kind of type of person to put it in your head to be like, man, fuck him, man. He abandoned us. No, bro, that dude had a personal reasons. He joined in. Maybe he didn't like it. He didn't like the antics. He didn't like the connivingness that takes place amongst each other. The backbiting. This it's like one big ass episode of Big Brother sometimes. So, respect that man. Respect that man's decision. At the end of the day, he's a man before anything. And that's what Snoop always said. You're a man before this movement. So now, if you got pushback, oftentimes for a lot of years, a pushback is basically saying you got voted on to say you're no longer part of this movement. To walk away and cover up your tattoos, and you can still coexist with us. Not at our tables, but you can be on the yard with us. Force back is when you get removed off the yard. That's when you're going to have it bad. But with us, it's different. Unless you committed like contrary behavior and like cardinal sins that we can't forgive, then you'll be on site on every yard. And then you're going to be in that position where you got to just find a place that we're not on there. So no, all that's the dude that responded to you saying to be in solitary confinement. No, you can't stay in solitary confinement. The administration is going to say you better find somewhere to deal with it, or you can go out there and deal with yourself. The administration is corrupt like that. They will put you on a yard and say, go get your ass whooped, and then we'll deal with it then. Now, they have a lot of times, a lot of people PC up and go to the EOP buildings, but now they're making it difficult because the EOP is for people that are actually on the tier throwing shit at each other and popping each other's pills and slamming inhalers and shit just to get high, get a rush. That kind of jackass. You know, you got dudes in the cell looking for cigarette butts that ain't even there. So a lot of time people found those yards to be safe havens like Scrappy did, and a lot of the NCs did for a while, just so they can gather up and regroup. A lot of people go there to have debts on the yard they can't pay, or just want to go have sex with another man or trainee, because that's where they put most of the trainees now. You can go to those yards, but you can only you have to really play the part of being a true live J-Cat. Now, you got to be drooling, in front of those fucking those medical ladies in order to be convinced by the committee that you could be on those yards. So that's pretty much where you can go. But it's all how you left this gang. Like I said, the IR, same thing. They're gonna jump you. I think we're the only group segment that won't. If you decide to walk away for your own personal reasons, we respect you as a man and say, okay, yeah. Because we shouldn't be beating on somebody who wants to make a better decision to change his life for the better. But in a lot of cases, Snoop has went against that policy because he didn't like this person personally, or he felt some type of way about it, encouraged others to feel the same way. And so that made people go against the grain and start fighting these individuals, jumping these individuals. And then when most do it, a lot of us have to follow suit, even when we don't want to sometimes. But that's just the way. That's the name of the game, and there's a lot of things I hope one day I could change, so my movement could look a little bit more beautiful and a little bit more with a lot more freedom, and having our own personal decision making without having to rely on a simple law that was made by a man who happens to be a narcissist and a violent tyrant, so that we can stop hurting our people after a while. Because that's all we're doing. That's all on the SNY side. It looks so different from the active side, which I'm gonna elaborate on another video on. But all it looks like is just we created these group segments, these factions, these STG groups, and it's just internal slaughter. And I got tired of seeing that with my own brothers. Like I said, most of my batteries have been on my own people, and I get just like the local man situation. It gets tiring after a while. Like, bro, I'm tired of beating on my brothers, bro. This is supposed to be my brother, my playboy, my compadre, and yet when you don't have no drugs and phones and money to be made on the yard or extracurricular activities to keep your mind busy, the best thing to do next is let's go pick on each other. Let's target each other. Let's cut them at the knees real quick for no fucking reason other than I don't like this individual now. So I hope that answered your question, my boy. And I hope there's a couple more questions I got to go over. And, but overall, this video was for Gunnerz Collective as well, man. I respect your content, man. Thank you.